Port Town Council meeting for Thursday, July 13th. Roll call, Jacob.
Councilor Eastman?
Here.
Councilor Morrison?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette?
Here.
Mayor Stewart?
Here.
Councilor Ormsby?
Here.
Councilor Bishop?
Here.
Councilor Rankin?
Here. Item 3 is presentation of town council recognitions. I don't believe we have any. Item 4 is minutes from previous meetings. Town council minutes from 6/22/2023. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Correspondence, 2 police reports from Verona Island. Also have a downtown district exterior improvement grant report. And July 5th, 2023 EV charger report. Any questions on any of those? Next is ordinances to consider and introduce. We have a second reading for the Bucksport Waste Facility licensing ordinance. We'll have a public hearing on that a little bit later in the meeting. Item 7 is discussion items. First is regulatory review committee meeting from 7/13/2023. Mark?
Yeah, we met this evening to discuss a resident looking for a contract zone for a solar farm, and it has been moved to the next full council meeting.
Okay. So we'll put that on the council agenda for 7/27.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on that? Next is infrastructure committee meeting. Mark?
We discussed putting some swing sets on the waterfront, and the committee recommended that move to the council to look at doing it.
Okay. And that'll be on the next committee also, next council meeting also.
Can we just add that these are not
Swing sets.
swing sets? These are
Okay.
swings more like if you've been to the Belfast waterfront, the wooden
Fair.
swings that are there that are
No castle.
no castles, no tree houses.
Get up off your legs.
They're more for, could be used by adults and not just people under the age of
Bench
5.
swings. Bench swings. Yep.
Item C is discussion proposed fire EMS schedule change.
We discussed this at a committee level. There's a resolve further down. I provided you with a good deal of information in terms of comparable wages, in terms of what other communities' schedules are, as opposed to what ours is, which is 56, while everybody else is 42. We've discussed the fact that we've lost 7 members of our department in the last 2.5 years due to the schedule, because they come to us, they get trained, they go to where the schedule is not 56 hours a week. And that's an extremely expensive way for us to manage our department, number one, and it's really hard on our long-term employees who have stuck with us, because as we go through looking for more people, they're pressed into higher service than the 56 hours, because we're not running with a full crew. And they're also responsible for the training in many cases on our own equipment. So my request is that the council further on this in the resolve allows us to reopen the contract to change the term of our work week to 42 hours, which requires an additional 3 persons to make it a 3-person per shift, and the use of up to $150,000 in ARPA funds this year in order to accommodate that change. As I said, the information is in the packet. It's been out to the public. You also all have all the work that's been done on that. Public safety's here if you have specific questions. Our deputy fire chief is here someplace, and our public safety director, and one of our fire captains I see back there too. So, this has been a road because we've taken a very methodical approach to trying to address staffing issues in public safety and in the ambulance, which is, we started out with adding 2 people through a grant. We added one more, and then switched from a schedule which nobody ever was really off duty, because when you left your shift, if another call came in and there was no one, you had to go back. It was an automatic callback. When we added the additional people, we converted to 56 hours, which for the people who were working 100 hours a week felt like a bargain. Until such time as everybody else moved away from the 56-hour shift to the 42-hour, and we were left being one of the 2 or 3. I think Rumford is one, Gardner may be, but I'm not sure, but that's it. And then we added per diems to try and help augment staffing, and locating those per diems was not possible on a 24-hour basis, but we attempted that, and we revised our benefits. Our wages would be comparable regionally, and the only thing that gets mentioned when we lose people is the schedule. So we haven't gone 0 to 60 here. We've taken a methodical approach to try and address this over time, and this is the next step.
Any questions? I say we
Just-
will have a resolve and we can talk about it after that, or
Okay,
you can
yeah.
have the discussion now.
I can do it through
Wanna
resolve,
wait?
doesn't matter.
Okay. Next is the Spirit of America Award. I know Rich at one point had recommended Rick McHale and Karen Voss for a nomination for that award. I don't know if there's any other awards, any other nominees rather.
No, my request was for the council to name those so that we could set up a presentation for that for
Yep.
the future.
Everybody on the council okay with that?
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
All right, item 8 is agenda items. First is resolve 2024-01 to notify abutters to the unconstructed section of 2nd Street of the proposal to discontinue the paper street and schedule a public hearing. How the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Next is resolve 2024-02 to approve the contract with DM&J Waste for disposal of demolition debris, metal and wood waste, and container rental. How the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Comments?
Yeah, on the bottom of page 2 and on the top of page 3 of this contract, there is numbers written in, and then there are in parentheses numbers which don't match those written in numbers. Which one should we be looking at?
Hold on just for a moment, Jim, let me.
It's quite a discrepancy in those numbers, so.
The in parenthesis numbers are the numbers for the new contract. The written numbers are the ones from the old from the prior year contract. The higher number, the 200 to 225, 150 to 225, 89 to 110, the numbers in parenthesis are the ones that would be in effect for the contract. The ones that are written out were last year's numbers.
Well, there's $1,000 jump in the last one on the list. From 1,500 to 2,500.
For the annual fee, yes.
Can you explain to me how the fuel escalator works?
If fuel is between $0 and $5, the per trip fee is $225, as it shows over here. If fuel is between 5 and 5 1/4, it's $235. If it's between 5 1/4 and 5.50, it's $245. For every 25 cents that it goes up, it basically goes up $10. That of the fuel, their purchased fuel cost.
In the way that I see that, that only amounts to the per pull
That's
haul.
correct.
It's not added on to all of the other fees? I
No,
mean,
it's the per trip price for the haul, which shows as $225. Under the second item down, it went from $150.
And this was put out to bid?
No, this has been the same contractor that the town has been, working with for, I don't know how many years we've had this contract with DMJ. There's a limited number of, and this is the only one in the area that does it. This one is located in Winterport.
I guess my question is, every once in a while, is it worth it to put out an RFP or a bid process to see what else is out there? There are, you have, I'm assuming you see other contractors that haul refuse and stuff, and if they can't do it, they can't do it, but is it our due diligence maybe to put this out, to see what there is out there for price?
If that's the council's wish, that's what we can do.
And I'm asking.
I hate to disagree with you, but I think of this particular subject matter, we should be glad that we're up for renewal to cross this kind of scenario off the list, because any other bids are gonna come from further away, and it's gonna be more money.
Well,
So-
and I would just argue that we just went through it at the academy, and I had 3 bids from local contractors. These folks weren't one of them.
Yeah.
So there are contractors in the area that may put in or may not.
For that size?
Casella's a pretty big operation. Yeah. I just throw it out there. Again, pleasure of the council, but at times it doesn't hurt just to throw a stab out there to see what's out there for prices, and are we getting good prices, or are people comfortable, because they always do business with us, is all I ask. But we have a motion and a second to accept this, so if there's nothing further, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next is, I lost my place, sorry, I was looking for that.
The loan rate.
Yes, resolve 2024-03 to approve the loan rate for the 2023 ambulance. You have a new, the paperwork came in through email and was given to us tonight. This was ambulance that we voted on back in 2021, and now that we're getting the ambulance, the bids, Chaya Savings Bank, 4.84%. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Quite a difference in the rates there on those things too, so.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased to report that the ambulance is actually
Here.
And it's not in service yet, because it's still waiting for a radio, but we've been waiting for this a long time.
All those in favor? Opposed? Passes. Next is resolve 2024-05 to approve the reopening of the fire EMS union contract for the purpose of schedule, benefit, and wage rate changes to be effective 9/1/2023, to include the addition of 3 full-time firefighter paramedics and to utilize up to $150,000 from ARPA funds for the proposal. How would the council like to proceed?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? When you, and I'm asking because I don't know how the process, you say you want to reopen the contract. Is it pretty well done, so there's not another negotiation, or is that, will there be a sit down just to go over this stuff again with
The purpose of reopening is to include the language that incorporates what's been identified here for changes. It's not to renegotiate the world. It's limited to the items necessary to facilitate the schedule change, the wage adjustments,
One of the questions that's been proposed to me, in the past and recently is maybe having a member of the, I believe it'd be the services committee from the council, just to be able to participate in the union negotiations. I don't know how the council feels about that, just to be there to sit in on union negotiations, to have some representation from the council as a member of the services, yeah.
that's fine.
So, who's on the services committee?
Jim, myself, and Dan.
Any one of you wanna volunteer for that, or?
I don't mind.
Okay. So if we pass this, then I'll let you work with Sue and figure out when it's gonna happen, and
Okay.
you can be on that. And I would, again, most of these contracts are taken care of for the next few years, but, going forward, I would suggest maybe that's just another way to get council involvement in that, to
Absolutely.
be, stuff, so.
One thing I'd like to say on this is,
Oh, yeah, you wanted to talk earlier, we
Yeah.
got you.
you shut me down earlier. I'm in favor of this. I think we need it to get the call response that the citizens want, they projected on me that that's what they want,
Yep.
and to keep good personnel. But at the same point, we've rearranged things several times, and this will be the third time. And I'm in favor of it, but I think this needs to stop here for a while, for quite some time. We do need it, but we can't keep changing, making the schedule better with more pay. We can't keep doing this. We can't afford it. So I'm for it, but it's gotta slow down for quite a while.
And one of the things I thought about was the same sort of thing, is there are services that the town requires. And when we look at our budget, there are monies that we spend that may have to be looked at in the future to be able to handle some of these things. We may have to pull back from something, some of the, I won't call it excess, but some of the other things that we spend on that may not be always at the forefront of what citizens are asking for true services that towns require. So I would ask that when, the next budget comes up, you may have to look at that too, so. Thank you. Any other questions? Yep.
Yes. What are we gonna do in situations like this when this ARPA money is used up? There's $150,000 out of the ARPA money.
So going forward, this will come out of the regular budget. This will,
Yes, I understand that next year we're gonna be feeling it in the budget.
yep.
But, ARPA money seems to just get mentioned quite a lot here lately. I'm just wondering what,
Well, we've got, we've had different things that we've talked about what we want to spend it on. This was one of the items that was brought to be able to use it on. Again, it's here for that purpose, and I think, like I was just saying to Ed, going forward, I think that folks, we've got to make sure we look at the budget to see where that extra money, where this $150,000 is going to come from the next time. Because you're right, the ARPA money will not be there for that going forward. So I think in the budget process out of that, that whole thing, you've got to figure out where that money's going to come from, or just raise it through taxes.
And from prior discussions, I think Sue did a good job outlining the amount of money we spend on overtime in other scenarios and how much money we're spending that's gonna, on the other side, contribute to these other
Oh
positions.
no, there's absolutely a savings there that can counteract this for sure. Yeah. But to your point, Jim, you're right. The ARPA money is going to run out, and that's where it's going to be a budget discussion to figure
yes,
out how you pay
and
for
we
this.
made out a list of, we sent out, and the citizens put in numerical order what they thought that money should go to. And I don't recall this being on that list.
It wasn't all expended on that list though either. So there was money left over. I think that's what we're looking to spend some of that money on. Sue?
The council used $15,000 for the program to assist seniors with adaptations for safety and accessibility. We spent $63,000 for a bus, for the senior center.
Spent some money on a four-wheeler, right?
You spent $25,000 for the snowmobile club for grooming trails.
We used some of it for,
The library in the budget, we used,
we also
the
used some,
$5,000 that we used.
some for COVID
And it
overtime
was,
money,
it
right?
was, hazard pay back at the, during COVID, there was $22,000 used from that. We had, at the time I asked for this 150, we had 350 remaining, so there's still $200,000 less that you have not yet obligated for ARPA expenses that need to be obligated by 2024 in order, and expended by 2026 in order to utilize them. But public safety and fire EMS stuff is one of the actual listed items under ARPA legitimate expenditures.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Next is Resolve 2024-06 to approve a write-off of $57,910.33 in ambulance charges from 4/2013 to 12/2019. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
You've all seen the list. This is the list we get every year, the write-off charges. So, any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Resolve 2024-07 to accept the 2024 Shore and Harbor Planning Grant for the Downtown Waterfront Master Plan. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
I just want to comment and congratulate Rich. From what I saw in the letter, you know, one of the highest scoring applications they had. So I just see you walk in here, so you know, I appreciate that. Nice job. I think it was a lot of work to get into that, and I think your work actually proved out quite well for us. So thank you for that. Now go get some more. Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Item 9 is resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections. We have none. 10 is approval of quick claims and discharges deeds. We have none. Item 11 is town manager report.
I'm happy to report that the museum and the street signs are nearly all up. There's one left to be put up at the Alamo, but the rest of them are all up. This project has been a long time in the works, and we are grateful to Main Street Bucksport for getting this project over the finish line. And we are also grateful to our Public Works crew for installing all of the signs. I suggest that folks take a stroll down the waterfront and Main Street to enjoy them. The new heat pumps approved by the council for the upstairs of the town office will be installed, upstairs of the town office and the skating rink building will be installed on July 24th, if my staff makes it the next week without any air conditioning upstairs. A reminder that the Bay Festival is a week from Saturday on July 22nd. The festival committee has been working hard to plan a fun family day for all. This week's Enterprise has a list of all the events, and information can also be found on the festival and the town Facebook pages. A person was in to ask permission for a group that does geocaching to do so on town property. This involves people hiding small items in public places that are then found by others who are playing this game. Information on it can be found on the web at geocaching.com. It involves locating these hidden items, signing a logbook contained with the item, and then reporting on it via computer or phone. We have people who leave painted rocks in public areas and have been the location for some spots in the Pokemon Go game as well. I told the person that we could not have items that impeded maintenance activities, created a safety hazard to locate close to traffic, etc. We do not have a policy that addresses these kind of things, and I'm inclined to say that this is an okay activity as long as it does not end up littering the public areas with all sorts of items. But I'm looking for council input on this. We don't have a policy that says no, and we have all sorts of other things left.
It's hide and seek. It's a, you know, it's
Yes.
it's I personally don't think we need to create a policy for folks to go use their phones and look for things that, you know, they may, and normally it's other folks hiding this stuff.
It
It's-
absolutely is.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but I found them before
Yeah.
accidentally,
Yeah.
and they're way out of the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
I appreciate they came to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, or there's,
Yeah.
I guess according to the rules of what they do, they're supposed to ask.
Yep.
Not
Yep.
everybody doesn't, I guess, but they did, so that's that. We have a bid from a person who's interested in 5 Mount Olive Heights. We have to advertise this property both before and after the building was torn down and the lot cleaned up. And both times we had a minimum on the property to pay off the cleanup, taxes, sewer, a small mortgage to Seaboard, and an amount for the property owner to sign off on the sale so that the buyer could get a warranty deed. Neither time did we receive any bids. In analyzing the items that we included in the minimum, we included all outstanding sewer charges, which includes principal charges of $3,077.25, all of which were incurred after the house was vacated in July of 2015. We bill the minimum for any building that is standing and has a sewer connection, but there was no active water at the property and nothing actually went into the sewer. My question to the council is if you are open to negotiating with this interested party to sell this lot at a price lower than our initial minimum, or if you wish me to advertise it again without a minimum or with a lower minimum.
We've done that in the past, when we put stuff out to bid and we've got no bids on it, and we've had folks come in and ask about it. I'm inclined to allow Sue to negotiate. To get it back on the tax rolls, if nothing else, I don't think we're ever gonna get the money we've put into it.
Well, it's,
Depending on
the
what.
offer's not far off from what we would need to
Okay.
be able to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't, the 31,
Yeah.
yeah, but I would suggest that we've done this in the past and it's been on, we've had it for a while.
Yeah.
It's just no different really than 27 Main, you know, we get an idea that will probably work and help us out, so.
I agree.
Yep, no issues.
Okay with that? Okay, thanks. And finally, the pool. The cracks that opened up in the pool after it was filled this year have been ground out and filled. 4 return line fittings were found to be damaged, and those areas were excavated, and the last of the fittings are being replaced today. Wardwell will be filling these areas and repaving them once the fittings are finished. The pool will then be painted and filled and reopened for use. I want to thank everyone for their patience. The areas that experienced problems this year were not areas that were addressed when the pool was rehabbed in 2020. The freeze-thaw cycles of the past few winters have been extremely hard on asphalt surfaces, and the pool was no exception. I would stress that the repairs that have been made this time are not a temporary fix, but instead are items that should survive in the same way that the repairs done in 2020 have. I want to thank Bobby Wardwell of Wardwell Construction and Mike Solinsky of Mike's Pool Service and Matt McInnes from the Bucksport Y for their attention to this project. The investigation and then acquiring parts has taken longer than anticipated, but weather permitting, so we can fill and paint. We should be up and running next week.
All right. Next is public hearings and approval of licenses. The first, we have a public hearing on the Bucksport Waste Facility licensing ordinance. Open the public hearing for the Bucksport Waste Facility licensing ordinance. Anybody have any comments?
Good evening. My name is Ralph Chapman. I am here to speak very briefly in favor of the ordinance. I know that a number of people worked very hard on getting this to this point. We recognize its limitations, largely due to state law, which in my opinion is questionable in terms of the state constitution, but nevertheless, That's a constraint. I think the two specific positive aspects of the ordinance is that it allows the town to get all of the paperwork that's filed with the state as well without having to ask the state for the paperwork. The paperwork's in the public domain. It should be able to be easily obtained from the state, but sometimes there's delays. The ordinance requires that the paperwork be filed directly with the town. That's a good thing. The second good thing is that it gives the town the legal authority to enforce the provisions of the regulations. The regulations at the town level can mirror the regulations at the state level for the most part, but in any event, the town having enforcement capability gives us a little better chance of having some enforcement work done, and especially since the state has shown itself not to be particularly interested in doing enforcement by that agency. So I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your work on it. I thank the town manager particularly for the detailed attention to this matter. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for all your comments and work also to help us get us in the right direction too. So,
Surely.
thank you.
Good evening. My name is Don Jewett. I'm here just briefly to say I'm for the ordinance. I obviously don't want the trash dump in our town. I mean, if you was no trees in the way and you went on top of the Silver Lake, you'd see Silver Lake from the top of the landfill. I mean, it's so close to our public water supply. And another thought I had is, what about the trash coming from the United States? We understand that's going to happen along with the rats and the seagulls, et cetera, like it did in Hamden. I also have a question about what about the ships bringing trash in from other countries? Is that a possibility if we open that landfill up? So I just want to express my opposition to opening a dump here, and I'm glad you folks are working on an ordinance, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hi, I'm Michelle Rhodes, and I think the ordinance is a good thing, both as a concerned citizen and a real estate agent in town. I don't think we need to reopen the landfill.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Omott, and my husband Tom and I are recent transplants to Bucksport, and we're very happy to be here, but we are very concerned about the reopening of the landfill. And we are, at this point, understanding that we don't have all the answers, but we also do not want to see the landfill reopened. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Stevie Bridges. I'm older than all of you, and I remember when the waterfront was a dump and we couldn't go down there. And just thinking about the landfill being reopened for pollution, more added pollution, is really it's a kind of a terrifying thing when I look back at all the years and the work that has happened in Bucksport to make this just a wonderful town, a clean town, a town that has survived a mill closing. We've survived COVID. We're getting small businesses. It's just seems like it would be going backwards if we opened a landfill and had trucks coming through. Lost control of what was going there and what was leaking out of it. I'm obviously very much against the landfill being opened, and would like to see Bucksport to continue going forward in a way that would invite young people. So many of our citizens are older, and to invite young people to come in, new businesses. So.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Mott. That was my wife. I claim some ignorance here because what I'm reading online about the proposed ordinance sounds very good. one of the things that I noticed at least is that you've got standards for 5, 10, and 25-year floods. I would suggest that isn't enough. You probably need to raise that standard. This week in Vermont is probably going to happen all over in the Northeast at some point. So that's one small issue. The other is it doesn't seem to talk to the existing landfill. It's talking about a new landfill. Maybe I'm misconstruing this, but it would seem like there's a lot of remediation and stabilization. The ordinance talks about a new facility, but it doesn't talk about remediation of the existing failed facility. That part worries me. And we love being here. We've been here 8 months. I'm not one of those faraway people that, from away, that wants to have everything the way it was. But we might not have considered coming in here if we had known a little bit more. So if I'm that way, and you want more people to come in and younger and raise their families, the existing failed landfill needs to be discussed, and maybe it is. Maybe that's the intent of this. I can't construe it well enough to understand. But that's a concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
The discussion of the number of years of flood was discussed during our this whole thing, and the reason it stayed that way is that in state statute right now, those are the standards. It can't be stricter than. So until the state is in the process of updating those, but it's not done yet, and that's why those numbers are that. And the second item is that this ordinance addresses not just a new landfill, it addresses the existing landfill. As a matter of fact, there's a number of areas that specifically require things of the existing landfill that were in place at the time that landfill was permitted, such as the fire suppression system that was a hydrant line that went from the pump house at the mill up Route 15 to a series of hydrants to a hydrant at that facility, which gave our fire personnel sufficient water pressure to be able to fight the 5 or 6 fires a year that they had at that bark dump. And when AIM, Bucksport Mill LLC, took down the mill, that suppression system was removed. And this ordinance specifically talks about the requirement for that kind of a system and to be in place. And the landfill exists. It's a generator-owned landfill by a generator that has no property to generate anything at this point. So the proposed ordinance, while it talks about a new one, is very specific to any action on the part of the current owner to do anything with this would require local approval, which prior to this would not have been necessary. So.
Anybody else?
Do we know who the purchaser is when AIM sells it? Who wants to purchase it?
If AIM were to, I've had weekly contact with DEP, the head of waste management and remediation, asking every single week, has there been any contact by Bucksport Mill LLC? That's the owner of this in regard to this landfill, and the answer has been no. Under the terms of this, if they sold it, yes, we would be notified. There's a process for the transfer of ownership of a landfill that requires whoever buys it to have a certain amount of expertise in its operation, but in this case, this is not a public landfill, it's a generator, a private generator-owned one.
Okay, this is the reason I asked the question, because if they sell this, because their intent is to sell it to somebody else to open it up, correct?
Yes.
Now, if they sell this to somebody who has a sewage treatment plant, what's to say they're not gonna be generating sewage treatment, sewage that needs to be put somewhere?
One of the items in this ordinance states that the only items that could go in this landfill are waste that were previously permitted under the original permit, which does not include sewer, it doesn't include municipal solid waste, it doesn't include any of the vector attracting, seagull attracting stuff because it's decomposing. According to this ordinance, they would not be allowed to change or add to the types of waste that are disposed of here. And the other reason being that right now, the only part of that landfill that's lined is the ash portion that's required by law. The rest is not lined, and under the state law, construction and demolition debris landfills are not required to be lined. But any other waste, sludge, municipal solid waste, special waste, hazardous, all those require engineered liners that are, in some cases, feet of clay, and others, they're composite liners that are required. But this, one of the protections, if there is, to call it that, of this ordinance is that it doesn't allow for an opening up of this landfill to other kinds of waste that were, other than what was wood, construction and demolition debris. It used to be paper mill sludge. That one was removed when AIM got this because there was no more paper mill. There was no sludge to be had. That one was removed. The list of items is not long that could be used for. But we did put that in so that they couldn't change the waste stream, even if they put liners or whatever. It doesn't allow for it. I will remind you that even if this is adopted, DEP has to review and approve it. So.
And DEP presently is the ones that have inspected it and said that it wasn't in compliance to start with, correct?
That's correct.
And it hasn't been put into compliance.
It has not been put into compliance. It is the temporary cover was supposed to have been replaced in 2015. The leachate pond, leachate structure was supposed to have been replaced because that was leaking. The monitoring wells have some issues, and one of my bigger concerns is that the closure set aside, the amount of bond that has to be set aside for the eventual closure of the facility has not been updated since 2015. So right now there's a $10 million bond for closure that has not been updated, that needs to be updated because that was 8 years ago, and I think we all are very aware that the cost of everything has gone up pretty substantially in the last 8 years. So I've discussed all of these items with DEP as they review what needs to be done at that facility, so they're aware that the town is expecting more than continued inaction.
Any other questions, comments?
Don White, Bucksport resident and taxpayer. This ordinance is a step in the right direction. It's a step. It puts a layer between us and a source of major pollution that brings nothing but destruction to this town. Landfills are a mess. There are other ways to do business. And the good town of Bucksport needs to take a good step in the right direction. We need to start forcing the state to do what it says. Reuse, reduce, recycle. And stop making it just words. The cheapest way for everybody right now is to throw it in the ground, bury it, and there you go. You start major problems for wherever it is. It's a mess. I want to thank everybody involved who has got us to this point. I think the town manager has done a great job. I think this council has done a great job. I want to thank the citizens of Bucksport who've rallied and have said no to this kind of thing. It won't happen. And I want to, and I'm very appreciative of what's happened. And I think it's a good step for this town to say, we've got an ordinance, we're going to stand behind it, and under no circumstances will this landfill be reopened. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody?
Hi, my name's Katrina Bisheimer, and I'm a long-term resident of Bucksport as well. And I would like to thank Susan, I'd like to thank the council for a lot of the hard work and citizens on this ordinance. I feel like it is a step in the right direction. I do want to recognize its limitations, but my biggest concern, honestly, is relating to, I'm a psych nurse. I work in a state hospital. I feel strongly that people's and companies' behaviors are the best predictors of what their future behavior will be. So my concern is that AIM has more or less bullied the town. It's disregarded its responsibilities to upkeep the landfill, even though the DEP has said these are the requirements. It just has disregarded it. And so my concern is that that will continue, and regardless of the ordinance. And I don't know, I know that there are things in the ordinance that will help, but my fear is that that behavior will continue. It's just, so what I would like to see the town do is to take a different direction, to consider approaching AIM or whoever winds up owning the company or owning the landfill and asking about cleaning it up and shutting it down. We know that it's been leaking. We know that it's not good in many, many ways, both environmentally, in terms of bringing new people, younger people to Bucksport, lots of things to consider, and new businesses. So that would be my hope, and I would like to see us move towards more reducing, focusing on the future, and getting different companies with a different focus. I guess that's it. I want to thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from the council, Paul?
Just real quick, I think one danger here could be as we move forward that with this ordinance, as has been suggested this evening, that we pass this ordinance and we kind of do this. And feel like it's the end game. And I do appreciate what the lady who just spoke said, but I think maybe it's time to start putting some pressure on DEP. I asked Dawn several meetings ago, I kind of insinuated that maybe some of the voices or some of the noise that's been made on this issue should be directed more towards Augusta. And I think I think this council at least should consider whether we're part of that noise. Because if the DEP is approaching a decade behind on on enforcing some of the things that are supposed to be happening at that landfill, then maybe who else is there that is going to say to the DEP, what the hell is the holdup here, and get it together. It's my 2 cents. It's something we should consider.
No, mine exactly. You have elected representatives that represent this area. You have a governor, you have a commissioner, And I'm looking at a room full of folks here that those things matter. When those folks in Augusta hear from citizens, they hear from Sue like she says, every week. But if they hear from you folks of sending emails, banging on their doors, sitting in Augusta, and, when you get a chance, that matters. I know Mr. Chapman will say that it matters. Folks will pay attention to that. That I don't want to say we've done all we can do here to what Paul was saying, but we need to take it to the next step, and the next step is going to Augusta. And if you send an email to the governor, she has come to Bucksport quite often. She's pretty enamored with Bucksport. You have representatives that represent this area. You have DEP commissioners. And if those folks don't answer your emails or get back to you, there's always somebody up above them. Again, I know we've talked to a lot of folks here, and I hope that we've answered all the questions we can, but we're kind of at a wit's end on what our power is as far as controlling somebody in Augusta. We can't go a whole lot further. But I would challenge folks here to rally the troops and make your voices heard down there too. So, anything else?
I would say that having this ordinance provides, once approved by DEP, and I'm pretty confident that there's nothing in it that they're going to be able to say is more strict, because the only things that are strict are the things that were already in place in a license before, at the time, so that while it might be stricter than state law, it was in the license when they got it originally. So those extras are, but I can tell you from my weekly conversations at the department level that they are looking more closely at this landfill and what needs to happen in
50 voices is a lot better than one.
It wouldn't hurt to have a whole lot of other people saying, hello, there's more to be done here, but they are in that process, so.
Again, I'd like to thank everybody that worked it. If there's nothing else, I'd like to thank everybody that worked on this, and I think, as everybody said, this is a great first step, but there is more to do, so. With that, if there's nothing else, I'll close the public hearing. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Next, we have a Central Maine Power Pole permit. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Item C is American Cruise Lines liquor license renewal.
Motion approved.
How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
Questions?
I do have a question for our public safety director, since he's here. Have we had any issues with American Cruise Lines? Anything in regards to the alcohol permitting process, or? No issues? Okay, thank you.
All those in favor? Opposed? Next is Warren's Waterfront Restaurant liquor license renewal. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor? Next is GRR Inc., DBA Glenn's Place, liquor license renewal. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Questions? All those in favor? Jim's a good guy. All right, those are coming around for signatures. Next is discussion items that are not on the agenda for the council of the public. We'll open up anybody from the public, anything that's not on the agenda. Rich? All good? All right. This is normally your place to shine, so I wanted to check for you. Anybody on the council have anything not on the agenda? Couple things, I guess. 3. Whole Oceans, Spring Fountain, and property on Route 46.
Okay.
Just small.
I spoke with the owner of Whole Oceans a week ago. He contacted the town to talk about, the project indicates that it's still moving forward. Their arrangement with AIM for things due to water rights and those kind of things have changed. There were deed changes, which the town became aware of because we see all of those things. And so they contacted us about that, indicated that they were still planning on the construction. I reminded him that the permits run through 2024, which is like a minute from now. So he's well aware of that. Spring Fountain experienced a significant vandalism event. If anyone's driven by, the windows are broken out. It's but the town also has experienced some vandalism events. We had significant vandalism to the restrooms at the Soil Concentrator building. We've had vandalism at Ian's Playground. Our public safety department is investigating all of those and I think maybe finding some commonalities to them in terms of what has occurred. The last that we were informed, there's now, instead of 2 entities with formal purchase and sale contracts for the Spring Fountain, there's 1. They're in this region and they're people with sufficient resources and track record to do a really good job with that facility if this actually moves through to a sale. That they've met with the code enforcement officer, they've met with me, they've that's the good part of Spring Fountain. The mess that it is the bad part. And what was the last one?
Actually, I just thought of another one too. 27 Main.
And the property on 46.
And the property on 46.
And the property on 46.
Oh, property on Route 46, our code officer is getting demolition bids for the property on Route 46, which we will bring to the council so that can be taken care of. And 27 Main, all the deeds and things are signed on that, right, Rich?
I knew I'd get you up here.
And I apologize for my tardiness. I just spoke with them actually earlier today. So we've closed. They're in the engineering phase. They're obviously months behind, not at any fault of theirs. It was all on our end, and I apologize for that. But closed and good to go.
Thank you. Anything else from anybody? Upcoming public hearings and committee assignments and scheduling. As far as council meetings go, I know, Paul, you're not going to be here at the next one, correct?
That's right.
I will not be here on May 10th. I'm just checking if August 10th, May 10th. Yeah, I won't be here on May 10th either. August 10th, I'll be here. August 10th. I didn't know if other folks had vacation where we're going to have a number of councilors missing over the course of the summer. That
I will also be absent August 10th.
Okay, so I mentioned to Sue, and if there's not a lot of heavy lifting on the agenda, where it's summertime, we may get away with just one meeting in August, if that's acceptable to everybody. We can go with just August 24th, or
Jacob, what's the last date that we can have a meeting in order to get something on the referendum? Last meeting in August. What's that?
We're gonna need this for the
Well,
shelter.
right. Well, I'm saying the only one I'm looking at is August 10th. We're still going to do the next one. The only one I was looking at was August 10th. And again, you can certainly have it, but just letting you know that myself and Steve won't be here.
Can we
Talk
not
about next
make
meeting?
that,
Yep.
talk about that at the next meeting?
Yep.
If we have the animal shelter discussion and we
Sure.
have
MDOT grant.
the DOT that are both, if they're going to be on this,
Yep.
then we need to have had a meeting and then a public hearing, and that requires 2 meetings.
Yep. Like I say, I wanted to check with folks to see if we were going to be around and if we're good to move something, but So, let's just plan on the next meeting to make sure the risk schedules are up to date and where we're at. Any committee meetings that we need to have? I know you're gonna have, union negotiation, we'll be in touch with Ed on that, right? But that's not a committee, that's
Yes,
just the
that's-
services.
Regulatory one's gonna go to the council, so they'll be.
Yep.
What's that?
Solar's gonna go to the council, so.
Yeah, solar's directly to the council.
I did receive a application for an appointment to the cemetery committee, so a services committee meeting at some point. Be a very quick
We can
meeting.
do that at 6:45, just before our next meeting on the 27th. And it's never too early, but elections are coming up and you're gonna be putting out nomination papers, so I see a lot of folks in the audience. I hope everybody is willing to step up and serve and think about it.
Really think about it.
Really think about it. All right, nothing else, take adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All those in favor? Thank you.